business was at its height. It's a stable, law-abiding population. 1 in 3 on the poll tax register pays by direct debit. In fact, the council reckons it'll have to write off only 2.5% of last year's bills, compared with Oxford's 10%, although Oxford's poll tax was £140 higher. There's a feeling here, a civic pride, that Northampton has shown how, given the political will, the community charge could have been made to work across the country.
I think it's gone very, very well. There's no doubt, of course, that the people of Northampton are relatively law-abiding people, and they've responded to the collection of the community charge extremely well. In fact, we've collected over 100% of it, of our budgeted figure.
You've collected more than 100%?
We have indeed, of our budgeted figure, and that is only, of course, because of people have been attracted to the town, and we have 5,000 more people on our community charge register.
You've paid, have you?
I have, yeah.
Did you think of not paying?
I did for a while, yeah, but no, we all have to pay our dues, don't we?
There's a lot of people who can afford to pay and don't pay, and you get a lot of the people who can't really afford to pay, and they go in debt to pay, you know, especially the older people.
Well, why do you think it is that so many people in Northampton have decided to pay?
Well, law-abiding, you know, they don't want any problems, threats of approaching employers and things like that, you know, threats of taking people to court.
Well, Northampton is a town with relatively low unemployment. It's a relatively prosperous, relatively rapidly growing town. So that has helped. And the other thing is that the council in Northampton has been noted as one of the toughest, most hardline towns in the country in the methods they've used to collect this tax. And no doubt that has frightened a lot of people into paying.
In contrast to Oxford's softly approach, Northampton Council has gone for the bills, in the belief, presumably, that the hearts and minds will follow. Thus, despite vociferous protest, it became the first council in the country successfully to take non-payers to court. Not even pensioners were exempt, as 75-year-old Cyril Mundin found out. Returning home from the hospital outpatients one day, Mr. Mundin, a veteran campaigner, found he had an unexpected visitor.
I having my house treated at the outpatient, and just before I got to the door, I noticed a van right in the middle of the road. Took no notice, because there's always vans parked out here. And as I unlocked the door, a voice come, "Cyril Mundin, we come to arrest you." And I looked round, and there was this big burly bailiff standing outside the van, and I said, "Don't worry," I said, "you needn't put the bracelets on, I'll come quietly." And they handed me over to 2 policemen. And they said, "Come on, Cyril, come with us." And we walked up some fire escape back way and went to the desk sergeant. He said, "Cyril," he said, "I'm sorry about this," he said, "but empty your pockets." And he asked us, a constable to take me to one of the cells, and he locked me in there.
And how long were you in the cell?
About an hour and 3/4, I should guess. It seemed like a week. It wouldn't bench. Never been in trouble with the law before in my life.
All the time, Northampton has been in the frame as being one of the most, the Tories say, vigorous, I'd rather say ruthless followers of debt collection in the country. I think that's why I think they deliberately picked on people, and I think they deliberately went over the top to encourage the others.
They had a hit list.
I'm sure they did. I mean, people won't admit to it, but I'm fairly certain from the early days that they had people numbered, they had people named, and they were going after them.
We really had 3 groups. We had some habitual back payers who we knew we'd never been able to successfully collect rates from in the past. We knew that we had a vociferous group who were known to be anti-poll tax demonstrators. And we also had the Cornish tin miners, the ones who thought that they would be able to claim exemption because of this ancient ruling in the Cornish Stanary Parliament. We ended up, in actual fact, at the first summons hearing with 43 cases.
Oh, let's not mince words. This was a hit list, wasn't it?
You could say that.
Do you think, in public relations terms, with hindsight, that it was wise, for example, to take a 75-year-old pensioner to court?
We either had to issue the committal of proceedings or we had to just write the debt off. I didn't feel inclined to write the debt off at that particular time with someone who had £3,000 in the bank. There are a good many pensioners in our town who are struggling to pay their community charge, who would be very glad of £3,000 in the bank in order that they could meet their liability.
£366 next year. Yes, it's 4%.
That there were administrative problems with the poll tax even the Prime Minister has acknowledged. Yet the principle that everybody should pay something towards the services we all use is still widely, if grudgingly, accepted. The community charge was thought to be unfair, though, because it started off as a flat-rate tax with no regard for the individual's ability to pay. If all the rebates and reductions had been introduced at the start, it wouldn't have been loved, but it may have lived.
We've